Design, where I share tips and hacks to help you design your home your way. It's your girl, Denise Joy. I am an interior designer, a space curator. I'm also a 26-year college professor, and I'm the founder of the School for Joyful Living, where I help women who crave community, accountability, and support to implement an action plan to live their version of a joyful life. Thank you so much for joining me live today for this episode of Design Love Podcast. So today I decided to teach on how to prepare your home to move abroad. Many of you who've been following my channel, listening to my podcast, both Design Love and my other podcast, Learning to Live Abroad, you're familiar that I'm planning to retire and move abroad and become a flexpat, which means I'll live in 2 different countries, but also retain my citizenship here in the United States. So I am going to be sharing some really specific, beneficial tips and hacks to help you get your home ready. This is in alignment with my Declutter, Downsize, Organize series that I've been doing on the podcast. A lot of Black women have been choosing to move abroad. And that is increasing, quite frankly. Personally, I've been planning this, or let's say I was curious and thinking about it for about 2 years. Then I got more serious about it last July. And now I'm in full-on planning mode. But listen, if you're new to my channel, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and drop in the chat. What state are you watching from? What brought you here? And if you have questions, always drop them in the chat. Welcome. I appreciate you joining me live. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Planning to move abroad is really a significant undertaking. I was talking to someone, a friend of mine the other day, and I was saying, is that kind of not different than moving from, let's say, the West Coast to the East Coast? I mean, that's 3,000 miles, right? That's a long way. So moving abroad is a big undertaking, just as if you were going to move from one side of the United States to the other side. The difference is there's some other planning, like getting a visa and residency and things like that. But preparing your home, which is the focus of this episode today, that's not that much different when you're planning to do a long distance trip in terms of moving to some other location in the States. And remember, I've been thinking about this for 2 years and then planning ever since July. Remember that every person's journey is different. I'm calling this the long game. When you have the long game on your side, you have to take advantage of it. If you're interested in moving abroad, you're curious, you've been watching other podcasts, listening to other podcasts, or watching different videos of different folks who've done it. Some people can get themselves together in 4 months. I just interviewed a sister who moved abroad in 4 months from Los Angeles, like boom, right? But I am planning this out because I also plan to retire early. So I've got about 18 months or so. So that's the long game. And so I want you to, if you are too also in the position of you're able to play the long game for this, then what I'm going to be talking about today is going to really, really help you out. And if you don't have the long game and you've just been delaying and you've got to get your house together, you're still going to get a lot of benefit from what I'm going to talk about today. I do want to mention that the first hurdle, though, is your mindset. Your mindset is that first hurdle, and it's also something you're going to have to keep navigating and managing as you go through the process. When I first started, I was just curious. Honestly, if I'll be honest with you all and myself, I was more than curious, but I was also scared. So that's why I was consuming video after video after video, but I wasn't taking any notes. I wasn't taking any action. I wasn't, doing any searches to get any more information than what I was hearing about other Black women's lived experience undertaking moving abroad. So once I made that shift, that mindset shift, then I started to just get active. I'm like, okay, I need to do this. I need to do that, because the reality is, nothing's going to happen if you don't put your mind and your heart behind it and start taking meaningful action. So the long game is a gift. It's a benefit. I was actually talking to another person and they said, oh, you got plenty of time. Heck, you got almost 2 years. And I'm like, well, that's probably you're saying that because you don't really know everything that is a part of moving abroad. And certainly when you own a home, which I do, and many of you do, it's even more complicated, if you will. So for me, I started reorganizing my basement for when I plan to move abroad as part of my spring cleaning last week. And I was down here for 3 straight days just knocking it out, and I feel so accomplished. Um, so today's episode, I'm going to focus on two different things. If you're selling your home, or if you're doing like I plan to do, which is keep it and rent it out as a short-term rental. Two very different things, all right? But no matter which category you are going to fall under, you're still going to have to practice the principles of declutter, downsize, and organize. It doesn't matter. You kind of can't get around it. Actually, you could. If you just said, I'm going to bring somebody in, have them just cart all this stuff off like a moving company, but you having to just donate it somewhere, well, then, yeah, that's then totally different. You don't have to practice those principles. That's a rare person who's going to actually do that. Very rare person. So, as I said, I'm planning to keep my home and rent it out on short-term rental. So I'm looking at traveling nurses or other traveling professionals where I can do short-term rentals because again, I want to be able to have the flexibility to come back into the States and still be able to occupy my own home, etc. But there's some really specific things. If you two are considering doing something like that, there's some really specific things that you have to do to get your house. But let's look at sell it. Drop in the comments. Let me know if you are planning to move abroad, you own a home, are you leaning towards sell it? You know, are you team sell it? Are you team rent it, right? That's renting was what we call a house hack. So you're going to use that to leverage to keep income coming in and to retain an asset in your family and just for yourself. So let's talk about starting with selling it, okay? If you've owned a home, then you've purchased a home, right? So if you've only owned a home and never sold a home, then you're just going to kind of start to do the thing in reverse. I have owned 3 homes, sold 2 homes, so I have that experience, and also being an interior designer, I staged plenty of homes to get them ready to sell, so they could be look their best self, right? So when you're going to sell, clearly the first thing you have to do is get a realtor, someone you trust, a professional who's going to support you to achieve the goal that you have. Once you have a date set that you've had a conversation with your realtor, your real estate agent, then you can reverse engineer or work backwards, and then you can start getting your house set up. And you want to position your house interior and exterior so that it's staged. Staging just means that the house shouldn't look like the regular way you live in it, right? You're going to stage the space to show off the best features and to make the environment of your home feel so welcoming that the folks who come to look at your home say things like, "Oh, I can see myself living here. Oh, I can see doing this or decorating this corner or this room." You want them to be thinking like that. Gosh, I have staged plenty of homes that have sold within a day or a weekend, and it really does come down to doing a good job with staging. So, but before that, you're going to have to practice declutter, downsize, and organize. You're going to get rid of a lot of stuff. Just make peace with, you're going to let things go. All right. That's for your benefit. If you're moving abroad, or again, if you're just moving 3,000 miles across the country to another state or multiple regions, you've got to let things go. There's an 80-20 rule, you all. There's an 80-20 rule. 80-20 rule says, and I've tested it on myself, we really only touch and interact with about 20% of the things that we own. Whew. Sit in that for a minute. It's nice to have aesthetically pleasing things in your environment. I love aesthetically pleasing items and things. But the reality is, you have a closet or 2 closets full of items. You don't really need or touch or interact with most of those things on a regular basis. So just remember that when you're getting your home ready to sell, you can let go of plenty of stuff. Go room by room, and you're going to decide what you're going to keep, donate, and sell or give away. This is for selling your home. You're probably going to give away a lot of stuff and donate a lot of stuff. You are not likely to take and ship a lot of personal items like couches and chairs and things like that to move abroad. Many people are opting to do pre-furnished or already furnished, just to start out, right? To get somewhere, let's say you're going to Mexico or wherever. My top 4 countries as of today are still Mexico, Panama, Portugal, and France. And I'm doing some scouting trips. That just means I'm going to travel, visit those countries, live, check out the scene and so on. So you're going to go room by room, and you're going to declutter. I have episode 3 and 4 of Design Love are all about decluttering. So if you want more deep dive pointers on how to really do that, I encourage you to listen to those episodes. So you're gonna declutter first, because you can't organize before you declutter. Declutter first, downsize seconds. Downsize just means take things out, right? Remove things. I'm already doing some downsizing, and I kind of get into this, so I'm having fun with it. But I mentioned last week, there was a evening gown that I've had for 5 years. I need to go ahead, which I already did, put it in the pile to donate, but it was so beautiful. I often said, I'm going to wear it again. I'm going to wear it again. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not going to wear it again. Go ahead and release it. Go ahead and let it go. So you're going to work with your realtor to make sure that you are keeping pace with what it takes for you to get that house on the market and it's staged well. You're going to invite the realtor to come in and view the home. Be open and ready to take constructive feedback. If the realtor says take more stuff out, trust them. Remember, you're hiring and working with a professional whose job, their business, their life purpose is to sell properties and help people buy properties so that everyone benefits. So be willing to take constructive feedback so you can get that home on the market. In just a bit, I'm going to talk about when you sell the home, but let's shift gears and let's talk about if you're going to keep your home, to rent it out as a short-term rental. Now, some of what I'm going to share here will also apply on the sell it side, which is a crossover. So make sure you're taking notes. And again, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. Let me know what state you're joining me from. Depending on how large your home is or how long you lived in it, you're going to give yourself time to go through room by room, which is why I said at the top of this episode, the long game. If you have at least a year or more, that's the long game. Do not wait. Don't say, sell yourself on, I got about a year and a half. I can start downsizing, decluttering, next summer. No, you don't. No, you don't. Most people do not understand or really underestimate how much stuff they have and how much they need to go through it. Or you do know how much stuff you have and you are just pissed that you got to go through all that stuff. So start today or start now. Start planning. It is not too early to start planning for your absolute best life. So you're going to start as soon as you can. You're going to plan. Typically, I recommend that you start right around when your trash collection day is. So if your day is Wednesday, you want to start this coming weekend. Go in so you already have a nice pile of things to go into the toss pile so you can get in action. You can get in motion. Getting in motion creates momentum. It creates confidence. It creates excitement. It creates anticipation. You want all of that wind at your back, okay? Because again, I don't care if you have a 1-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom or a 6-bedroom house, it's still going to take you time. And since you're playing the long game, you got time on your side, but don't squander your time. Use time to your advantage, okay? Come on now, rock with me here. So you're going to schedule your decluttering to at least twice a month. Right? If you can do more than that, I'm going all in, Denise, then do it 4 times a month, meaning at least 1 weekend day, you're going to focus on decluttering for at least 2 to 4 hours. Again, everyone underestimates how much stuff they have. Everyone underestimates their version of the 80-20 rule, which means 80% of that stuff is really collecting dust, or, God forbid, you're actually paying mortgage or rent for a big storage unit and you don't really interact with most of the things in your home. So if you know your family or friends would be supportive, you can invite them to support you to help you start to prep and declutter and make it like a game night or a party night or something like that. Make it really fun and engaging. But also, I'm going to just be real with y'all. If you feel like you aren't getting the kind of support that would benefit you from family and friends with this whole vision of yours to say move abroad, just keep it quiet. Keep it personal. You just let people are updated on a need to know basis, and that's perfectly fine. So make sure you have good energy is what I'm saying ultimately. Step number 2, you're going to create a plan because your timeline is active. So if you're saying I got a year and a half, you're on an active plan. Time is going to pass anyway, and it seems that once we have plans for something, time seems to kind of speed up, right? Kinds of accelerates. So again, don't dilly-dally. If you're selling your home, remember you're going to use the date at which you want to put the home on the market so you can reverse engineer out of that thing and really go in with, you might even need to hire some help. Or like I said, if you got friends and family who are really in the cut with you and they're going to support you because you want to make sure you get that home on the market well. Um, if you're going to keep your home to rent it out, you're going to use your departure date. Let's say, I'm going to make this up. Let's say if I'm setting I know I want to be out and moving by December of this year. I'm just going to use this year. And so 6 months out, you're going to set some benchmarks. What needs to be complete? What needs to have happened by X date, right? That's the project manager in me. But you're going to set those benchmarks so that you can work into those benchmarks. The last thing you want to do is not plan well, and then you get overwhelmed. And when you get overwhelmed, doubt starts to creep in. Come on now. I know it's not just me because it happens to me. That doubt starts to creep in. You start thinking, see, this, I can't do this, or this is too much, or I have too much to do, or yeah, right? And so you want to be kind, loving, supportive, generous to yourself. Create a plan, reverse engineer out of that departure date, set up those benchmarks, and maybe even reward yourself. Reward yourself. Maybe it's just stickers like, yes, you did that, right? But something that will keep your motivation and your confidence high. I always suggest you start with things behind doors, drawers, closets, cabinets. Those areas are where we really end up having that 80-20 rule for real. I'm gonna give you an example. Now, I helped a gentleman, and he lived alone for many years, but he had really never done any decluttering. And he had sets of, he didn't even do any entertaining, but he had sets of dishes and glasses like for 16 people, just gathering dust. And I'm like, wow, when's the last time? I'm asking all the questions, right? Some of the general rules for decluttering and downsizing are, have you used this or worn this in the last year? How often do you use this item, etc. He said, oh, that 20 years ago. My eyes got a little big, but, because I was surprised. And I said, well, is it possible that you can downsize this to, he did have grandchildren. And I said, maybe just 4. So that when or if your grandchildren are over and maybe you want to have a little fun, a little dinner party, you have that. And he was like, I never thought of that. Absolutely. And I mean, once he got in motion, y'all, he was just so into it to get rid of stuff. 80-20 rule, perfect example of the 80-20 rule. So you're going to start with closet drawers, cabinets, anything that has a door on it. Go through and just be ruthless. In fact, start saying stuff like this. I haven't even seen this. I don't even use this. Boom, chuck it, toss it into the pile. Go ahead and get rid of it. The feeling of getting started is activating accomplishment. That's what you want to hold on to. That you can get things done, that you are a doer. You're not just a talker. You don't just talk that talk, you walk that walk. You get it done. And you center yourself as the most important in this scenario. I am focusing mostly on a single woman, but if you have, my child is a grown up, but he's still at my house quite a bit, and some of his things are here. So even though I am planning to rent out the house as a house hack and for rental income, I had a conversation with him. This is his viewed it his home too. And so having that interactive of how we would set things up to really make the greatest value of the home. Now, what do you need when you start this prepping? You're going to get 5 boxes or bags. That's going to be the keep, the toss, the donate, the giveaway, and the sell. The sell is when you may be doing like a garage sale or something, because most folks, once you get that decision made up in your mind that you're going to go ahead and move abroad, you just start looking at everything in your home totally differently because you're ready for something new. You're ready for perhaps smaller life, less responsibility to take care of things. You might even, again, might not take anything but clothing and your small, things to take care of, personal goods, and go somewhere where it's furnished and you're just living a completely different lifestyle. All right. But I do not want you to hesitate. So you're going to create those boxes. And when you're doing your decluttering, going from room to room, you're going to start to put things in those boxes and or those bags. Okay. Give things away. Make sure you are kind and you ask people, do they want something? Don't just assume people want what you're giving away, because that person might be doing their own decluttering and say, hey, Denise, I'm good, but thank you, right? So be kind and ask people, is this something you might need? You can, caution, do not have an undecided box. When you're doing your decluttering, prepping your home so you can get ready to move abroad, you just got to be ruthless and stick to your guns. Do not have an undecided box, because indecision is the enemy of the plan that you have. You have to make a decision. What's going to happen? Keep it, sell it, toss it, donate it, or give it away. And just keep it simple. Do not overcomplicate it. Step 4, I want you to focus your attention on one area at a time and then go methodically. That's why you want to give yourself time. When you're playing the long game, it might take you 3 to 4, maybe even 6 months to get through your whole house. Don't be shocked by that. Don't feel any kind of way except I'm doing the work. Don't put something on yourself like, I get all this stuff. Well, it don't matter. It's here. It's just here. We don't even need to go down there, because the thing that matters is you are taking it to task, you are taking care of it, and you are preparing for what you want next. You're doing a whole total mindset shift, life transformation, and part of it is getting your home in order. Again, whether you're selling it to benefit from that financially, or you're going to rent it out as a house hack. I always recommend put on comfortable clothes, make sure you wear shoes, and put on some good music. Put on some good music and have at it, because that music, again, is going to motivate you. You're going to feel, a sense of freedom and having fun. That's important. Make sure you set a time period for your decision making. When I'm working with someone, if they've hired me or if I'm just helping out a friend, I often say you have 1 minute. And a lot of times people are like, a minute? I'm like, yes, 1 minute. Tap into that which no. Don't question yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Like I was giving the example about the evening gown. I know good and well that evening gown is just a nostalgia, and I've just been letting it, be in my own personal storage unit here in my house. I'm not going to wear it again. I'm really kind of, not that I'm never going to go to an evening event, but I know that the season for that dress is done. It's complete. Let it go. Yes, you just need 1 minute. Yes, no. Whatever pile you're going to put it in. Begin to trust yourself. Begin to lean in to your sense of knowing. Your sense of knowing. Your sense of awareness of what should happen. You already know. Don't worry about cleaning while you're decluttering and downsizing. Don't worry about cleaning and organizing until later. Here's a couple of big questions for you to ask yourself when you are dealing with moving things out and getting rid of. Again, have you used this item in at least a year? The exception would be something like an evening gown, but actually it shouldn't be, because if you aren't going to the types of events within 1 year where you do wear an evening gown, then you probably don't need that. Is it broken? This is a big one. So many people will tolerate things that are broken when you shouldn't tolerate them because either the thing is broken and it's actually unsafe, or you have to tell people not to sit there, or you don't use it because, oh, I'm going to fix that. So we have, unfortunately, too high a tolerance for things that are broken. If something's broken, you're not going to move that somewhere with you, right? And if something is broken, then you are going to house hack your home. You're going to set your home up. For example, for myself, using my home as a short-term rental for traveling nurses, I'm setting the home up almost like an Airbnb. Um, and that means I'm going to stage the home in a way that maximizes safety, has some, basic aesthetic components that makes the home feel warm and cozy and so on and so forth. So you absolutely don't want anything broken. If you have a chair and the leg is wobbly, either fix that leg on that chair or get rid of it, because you're certainly are going to rent a space where something is not as safe as it needs to be. So you're going to be looking at things like that. Is it broken? Um, do you need to keep things for legal or tax purposes? These are mostly like your papers when you're going through, if you have like a home office and it has not been well organized and you're getting ready to move abroad, then this is your moment to get all of those things well organized. I just finished organizing all of the papers conceivably. Some of these things I might not end up needing, but what I didn't want was getting to the point where I needed to be dealing with the paperwork. I already have a passport, have had a passport for a long time, but when working to get a visa, so I am, no longer married. So I made sure that I had my divorce decree in this packet, and then digitized everything and storing the digitized files in two different locations. Backup. Okay. So this is the opportunity to get that type of stuff organized. But I also ended up throwing away, gosh, so many paper things that I just didn't need to hold on to anymore. That's an easy one where we can get a little drowned in that. Even though we do a lot of, folders and, digitized things, you still have paper stuff and you want to go through that type of stuff. Let's see. If you're really struggling with something, let it sit for a day and then come back to it, but you have already made the decision. I'm going to be clear. I'm going to decide. Keep it, toss it, whatever that's going to be. You're not going to be held hostage any longer by furnishings, by, clothing or papers that you simply don't need. That's certainly if you are renting or house hacking your home. But if you're selling your home, again, you're selling that home to stage it to sell. Working with a professional who has the experience to support you if you're going to do the work yourself of decluttering and taking things out of the home or reorienting the furnishings in a way that, show the home off and in its best self. Listen to that real estate agent to make sure that you get the home set up. You're going to be doing major decluttering. Again, I don't care if you've only lived in your home like 2 years. Everyone accumulates stuff fast. We fill up rooms, we fill up closets. It's almost like, it's like a negative to have a closet that's half empty. Ooh, child, this closet is empty. That's a good thing. That's fine, actually. And if you're moving abroad, I encourage you to adopt new habits, new ways of living in your spaces, where you really fill your space with things that you absolutely love and that give you a vibe and the feeling that helps you to excel, that helps you to wake up and greet the day with a smile on your face and a smile in your heart, joy at the center. All right. I want to just go back to the 80-20 rule, because so many people are just shocked by when they hear that. And I've heard people say, I went and looked around my home or even in my bedroom or even in my closet and realized that that's 100% correct. And then they made an effort for 6 months to see, could they start wearing more shoes or wearing more of the clothing they have, and realized they could pare down, they could purge, right? Or declutter at least a quarter of those things and didn't even miss them. That means your closet isn't going to be as full, right? So take yourself to task And I encourage you to get to work because you deserve to achieve your dream. And if your dream is to move abroad, to live abroad, or to do slow travel or any of the other things that are available to you, you don't want to have a bunch of stuff weighing you down. You do absolutely do not. And remember, the long game means you've got time on your side, but you have to use the time very, very well. You have to use the time strategically, whether you're selling the house or renting it out. One more thing I wanted to say, when you sell the house, I forgot to come back to this. Now, if you have the opportunity and the housing market is hot, it's a seller's market, and you have the capacity to either stay with a family member or some friends, because you want to sell now, but you don't want to move abroad for another 6 months, then create that arrangement. All right. If that won't work for you, in fact, the sister that I interviewed a couple of weeks ago, she actually sold her home just 2 weeks before she was slated to move abroad. She had done all the other things: declutter, held a garage sale, downsized, gave things away, donated, done the whole thing. So she had about a week and she stayed with a family member. So she was able to take advantage of that timing. Again, this is about planning and hitting benchmarks and doing the thing that really works for you. If you have the opportunity to sell early, and like I said, 6 months or 3 months, stay with a family member or a good friend, then you have the benefit of having recouped your assets, financial asset, by selling it, and then you're not paying, let's say if you still had a mortgage, paying mortgage, and then you can have even more income to take with you on your move abroad because you'd be saving for those 3 to 6 months. Obviously, you give a little piece of, pay for where you're staying if that's the arrangement you create with your family member or friend. But that's something important that you remember, that you want to take advantage of the timeline that's really going to support you. I really appreciate you all joining me live. And I always end these podcast episodes, with an affirmation. And here's today's. I am committed to doing those things that support the manifestation of my goals and dreams. One more time. I am committed to doing those things that support the manifestation of my goals and dreams. You are the secret sauce. It's you. It's you and you against the world, really. You are the secret sauce. You get the thing done. You create the vision. You create the plan. You do the action. You sustain your motivation. You can do it. I am so excited and ready to, move abroad. I'm enjoying the whole planning process, the prep process, the incremental things that I'm checking off my list. Nothing's too small. I've just really gotten into it. And I'd love to hear from you all in the community where you are on your journey. And if you aren't moving abroad, but you're just moving from the West Coast to the East Coast or the East Coast to the West Coast, and it feels like you're moving abroad, you'll be able to use a lot of what I shared in this episode today. As always, thank you so much for joining me for Design Love Podcast. Let's Talk Design, where I share tips and hacks to help you design your home your way. Live episodes drop Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. If you're watching this replay, drop in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from, what state, what brought you here. And if you have any questions, I promise to give them a shout out. Have a great day, everyone. See you in the next episode.